Today we treat you with some cultural delicacies as we explore how photos in food advertisements can affect your appetite depending on what's in the background of the photo. This is Shadûf.
Welcome to Shadûf, the place where business, research, and entertainment make a baby in your mind. We will show you common trends you'll want to leave behind. It happens all the time. We'll always bring a fresh perspective, so you can trust the data or the data, but not the feces you've been fed. Welcome to Shadûf. It's time to stop the song and start the show.
Welcome to another episode of Shadûf. I'm Weston Smith, your host, here with Head of Research Dustin Harding and our fellow research scientist, Lauren Silva. We've got an awesome show for you today. First, I've got a treat for you guys.
Oh, I love treats.
This is going to be a surprise.
I don't like surprises.
Well, so the topic at hand, just so everyone knows, the process by which we record these podcasts, sometimes I'm privy to the information before, sometimes I'm not. In this case, we've talked about this research before because this is a paper that Dustin published a while ago.
Yep.
The topic today is food advertisements and marketing across like different mindsets that has effects in different cultures and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I brought us some kind of cultural food items for us to try, some that we don't get regular. I went to an Asian market and picked out a little selection for us to eat here.
Drum roll.
So
Any particular order to this? Or
yeah, so I'm going to introduce a few of these.
Okay.
So first we've got some Kit Kats, which we've all had Kit Kats, right?
Yes.
But the wonderful thing is in Japan they have like tons of different flavors of Kit Kats. So I got a plum flavored Kit Kat.
Oh.
I've always wanted a plum flavored Kit Kat.
I know.
Wait, they make these?
They make these. Yeah. They make all kinds. There's like such good flavors.
Okay, so it's plum, but it's not like a purple plum. It looks like they're colorful rainbow plums.
It does
yeah, it
smell
smells kind of like
fruity.
almost like fruity with white chocolate
I would say
kind of thing.
Yeah.
It kind of smells like plummy. If I were to guess,
Well,
kind of like a plum.
I
I am getting some of the floral.
I love these. I get this like really tarty fruitness. It's like,
Yeah.
I taste more floral than I do fruity. But it doesn't quite taste like peaches.
Yeah. It's just very springtimey. I think it's a great flavor for the season.
I like it with the vanilla wafer in there.
Okay, this is going to be yummy, guys.
I'm nervous.
Oh, I could tell from your voice.
What is it?
So this is some seasoned sliced dried squid.
Oh.
And this is what they eat this a lot, like almost like jerky.
Dried. Okay, it's dried.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like jerky, okay?
Okay.
I'm just excited
I've
to
been
watch
told
Lauren eat.
I've been told it kind of has a good smell,
Does it?
and it smells like seafood.
Oh no.
Oh.
I don't eat like any type of seafood
don't
like
eat
at
any?
all. No.
Oh, it definitely smells like seafood.
Oh no.
Oh, you should give this a shot. It's actually really good.
It is?
Uh-huh.
I'm giving it a shot.
I'm like really nervous right now.
Okay. Here you are, Lauren.
I'm really surprised, you guys.
I
Don't
do not-
smell it.
I did smell it and I don't like it.
It doesn't taste what it smells like. It's actually kind of sweet.
Yeah. Look at Lauren. She's a sport, at least.
Look at her.
Way to go,
I can't.
Lauren.
Can someone take this? I can't smell it.
Swallow it. Swallow it.
I like it a lot.
I don't know that I would eat more than... I'm a little grossed out. Just a bit.
I'm like not feeling well from that. He drinks some water.
I love this.
Hey, guys. Smell my breath.
Okay, and one last thing, and then we can move on to the topic at hand. I got you some classic Japanese drinks.
It's a carbonated soft drink.
These are fun. If you guys don't know how to open these, they're really fun. Have you guys ever tried these before?
Yeah, they have the little marbles in them
Yeah,
at the
little
top.
marbles. They're marble drinks.
They're really cute.
They're fun. Okay, so
Oh, what?
they're sealed with this little rubber thing, and they've got a marble up here. And you push this little tool out here, and then you put this on here, and then you push down. Pops the little marble here in the head of the soda.
I really did not think I was strong enough to do this. Oh, it's so cute in there. Just like stays at the top.
And I like the original flavor. Because they have all kinds of flavors, but I got us all original.
Ooh.
Because it's the most unique, and I think it tastes the best. Well, that was fun, but now back to the topic at hand. With our cultural expedition into our little sampling of our little buffet that we've just had. Go ahead, Dustin, and tell us what we're discussing today.
Cultures are amazing, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different traditions. My family, we lived in France for a few years, but we just learned a lot by being in a different culture.
Yeah.
So when it comes to cultures, there's different thinking styles that are more predominant in certain cultures. So Eastern countries, for instance, tend to be more holistic in their thinking, which means they have a tendency to focus on relationships and the interconnectedness among objects and their context. And not only objects, but a lot of their decisions, they tend to base on this connectedness feeling. So they're more likely to take a person that's holistic thinking is more likely to take their family's viewpoints into account, or the society's viewpoints into account.
So it kind of goes out from being centered on themselves to then their family, then their neighborhood, then their country, then their whatever area. So they're always like looking at things in context to a bigger picture.
Right.
Okay.
Whereas Western countries tend to be on the other side of that spectrum, analytical thinkers. So we tend to be more individualistic in our thinking.
Okay.
And we don't care as much about that interconnectedness among objects and people and us.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So also, like, people with more holistic thinking a lot of times in, different cultures and stuff, it's linked more with, in previous research, looking at like self-control and restraint, like when making decisions and stuff like that. And
prior research looks a lot at that. But a holistic thinker tends to show more self-control than an analytical thinker.
Okay.
Which is interesting because you look at research lately and it kind of shows the opposite is starting to take place in recent years in some of these Eastern countries. You see gambling rates, for instance, are kind of climbing. Alcoholism is becoming more and more of an issue. More specific to this research that we're looking at, obesity rates in some of these countries are climbing more quickly than any other areas. It's caused a lot of researchers to kind of think, why? Like, what is going on here? What's causing these issues?
Right.
And one thing that people blame is that at the same time that these obesity rates are climbing, food advertising and appeals are also increasing quite a bit in those areas.
They're increasing. They're doing more, or they're changing.
They're doing more.
They're doing more. Okay.
Doing more. And so this research looks at how different types of food advertising impacts a person based on whether or not they're more predominantly a holistic thinker or an analytical thinker.
I see. So just as a frame of reference, and this isn't saying that, I got these marble drinks that are really loud while we're trying to record a podcast.
Whose idea?
Don't clank your marble next to the microphone. So while we're looking at this, we're not saying that one's bad and one's good. We're just saying that according to research, certain attributes are predominant in certain geographical areas, but these things can be present in all of our minds, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So we did run a couple of studies that looked at different cultures, like people from different locations. We kind of got the same effect that we'll be looking at, but the studies that ended up in the paper are actually people from the same culture. We just kind of measure whether or not they're more holistic versus analytical thinking. And one thing that's really cool too is there's ways that within the same culture you can manipulate whether or not somebody thinks more holistically or analytically in a certain short amount of time, right?
Whoa, manipulate. That sounds terrible. Manipulate, that's a strong word. So
that's my researcher say.
Right.
In so research, that's not a strong word.
How do you manipulate it? We're not like playing mind games or doing anything where we're tricking people or something.
Well, define mind games.
Mind games.
Yeah, so like when we talk about like manipulation, we're just talking about like just getting someone to think a little bit differently. So like, for example, in this paper, one of the things it was to get them to think more analytically. We had this stimuli and there were some lines within boxes that the participants would see, and part of them were told to focus on the lines just within the box and if they were similar to the other lines that were shown. And then the holistic manipulation, or the way we wanted them to kind of focus, was asking about the ratio between the space between the box and the lines in comparison to the other ones.
Okay, so the participant sees in one case a box with some lines in it.
In all cases,
in all of them.
they see
they see the same
a
thing.
line that that has a frame, a box around it.
Okay.
And they see a whole bunch, and what they're asked is in between those that we're kind of manipulating to think more analytically. We just asked them, did the line length change? So they're just focused on that line. They're not really paying attention to the box surrounding the line.
Oh, okay. They weren't asked any questions about the box, just about the line.
For
length
analytical.
of it.
Yeah, for
thinking.
the analytical thinkers.
Right. And then the other one was
It was for holistic,
for holistic,
So-
and you asked them.
about the ratio between the line and the frame. So they all saw the
Gotcha.
same stimuli, but they were just told to focus on different things.
So this is incredible. So generally speaking, you run a person through either one of these, and the first example puts them in an analytical mindset.
Yep.
And the second example kind of puts them in a more holistic mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's cool that we can do it. It kind of just shows the mind's a powerful tool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That's crazy.
So one of the interesting things as well when it comes to holistic thinkers is the way they actually view objects, the way that they view stimuli. You show a painting or a picture to someone that's holistic thinking versus somebody that's analytical thinking, and they're going to look and focus on different parts of this picture.
That makes sense.
So
Okay.
a holistic person is more likely to focus on the background and the focal object and kind of
The setting and what's
Yeah,
going on in
go-
the whole picture.
yeah, and go back and forth and kind of get a sense of, okay, what is going on in this whole thing? An analytical thinker is just going to tend to focus more on that focal object, the main point of the picture.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so in this study, one of the things that they looked at was they specifically focused on occasion setting, so the backgrounds in the ads. So whether or not the food fit into a certain occasion, or if they were looking at a stimuli or an ad with no background on it. So for example, one of the stimuli they had in the first study, it was looking at chocolate bars. And so one of the stimuli, it had the chocolate bar with a movie theater background. So that's what some of the participants saw, but then some of the others, for the analytical thinking mindset,
Test.
they saw just the candy bar with a blank background. It was a gray background kind of thing. So they were just getting them to focus, how we wanted them to, whether it be
Just like,
holistically
here's
or
a cutout
analytically.
of a picture of a chocolate bar.
Yep.
So the question that we were asking ourselves is, okay, so in this case, when a food is shown in an advertisement with an occasion setting background, so like a chocolate bar in the background, since holistic thinkers pay more attention to the background and how it relates to that focal object, are they going to take that background more into context, and will that cause them to visualize consuming that product more and thereby increase their craving and the likelihood that they indulge in that product?
Wow, and confirmed that?
Yeah, so we had several studies. My favorite was study 1, which was awesome because we wanted to measure craving. And of course, this was during my PhD. And PhD students, we always get the grunt work. And so the way we measured craving is we took cotton rolls, like dental cotton rolls that you would sometimes put in your mouth at the dentist.
Right.
And we weighed the cotton rolls before, and then we had all these participants come into the lab and put the cotton rolls in their mouth and look at these different food ads.
You'd put them down by the salivatory glands.
Yeah.
So they'd be just
There were
ready to
instructions.
soak in whatever was
Soak
produced.
it.
Oh.
And then I would come around and they would spit them. They would take them out and put them in these plastic bags, and I'd seal it. And you got to weigh it while it's hot too, right? You don't want it to evaporate.
Weigh it while it's hot.
Weigh it while it's hot. And so I still cringe with holding these little plastic bags that are hot and steamy. We're really gonna make Lauren gag.
Cute
but
I have a
cute
really
little spit
putting them on
wads
the
coming out of their
scale.
mouths.
And we measured whether they were more holistic or analytical thinking. We found that holistic thinkers, when they saw the food in an occasion setting background, they secreted more
Saliva. Wow.
Than analytical thinkers. And that's contrary to any of the prior research that others have done. So we found that in this context, when there's an occasion-setting background, it actually induces more craving for a holistic thinker than an analytical thinker.
If someone with an analytical mindset sees a food advertisement that's not in context, that doesn't have a contextual background, but it's more just focused on the food itself, did that increase their appetite, their craving?
So for the most part, for analytical thinkers, it didn't matter whether there was an occasion setter or not.
Okay.
It's just like, arr.
It looked like food and it looked good. So
it's good. Yeah, I don't really care
if
there's an occasion setting background or not.
Right.
Like it didn't budge their
didn't make a
cravings.
difference. Okay. So not having a background in it wasn't a big deal. So either advertisement could appeal to that person, to an analytical mindset, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the big one that really stood out was an occasion setting background for a holistic thinker.
Totally. That is crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then they had looked at going on further from that, just comparing indulgent food products versus non-indulgent food products, and there was only an effect for the indulgent food products with the occasion-setting background. If it was a non-indulgent food product, it was just kind of a wash.
Okay, so what do you mean by indulgent versus non-indulgent?
Yeah,
Because
so
anything that I like, I could indulge in, and so I just call everything indulgent.
Celery. Indulgence.
See, I don't like celery, so I don't indulge.
you don't like celery?
It's okay.
Have you thought that maybe you only like indulgent foods?
Maybe. That's probably the case.
Yeah, so specifically for this study, what they did was they had, in like a kind of pre-test, they had people answer. They had different food products, and they asked them like on a scale of like which ones they thought were indulgent and which ones weren't, kind of thing, like just to measure it.
Okay, so it changes from person to person.
Yeah, and indulgent is kind of more like, the naughty foods.
Like rich food, like cheat on your diet kind of foods.
French
type
fries
thing.
and candy bars, like we mentioned.
Yeah, or like really cheesy pizza, or like burritos and stuff like that.
Are you? Is that what you're craving right now, Lauren?
Pizza. Yes, I am really hungry right now.
She keeps looking at the picture of the indulgent pizza that we had in this study, and she's like, oh.
Yum.
Pizza is my favorite food, and I have not
Pizza is your
eaten
jam?
since this morning. Pizza is my jam.
Pizza jam. That's $1 million product idea.
Yeah. Pretty much what we show, because it only works for indulgent products, that means that craving has a lot to do with this, right?
Okay.
So if there's no craving, then really an occasion setter doesn't impact a holistic
Their appetite for it, their craving for it. Okay. That makes sense.
So this type of research really draws into question some of the ethical dilemmas we run into as marketers, right?
Right.
You're like, okay, so we can get these, holistic thinking kids in these Eastern countries to eat more indulgent food if we put occasion-setting backgrounds in the advertisements, right?
Right, but is that the right thing to do?
Is that the right thing to do? It's a difficult question, right?
Yeah, and we all have to kind of face that when we see advertisements or when we see things marketed to us that in almost in a sense we are kind of being manipulated, right?
Yeah.
And so there is a level of ethics that are applied to it. Is it okay? And I mean, I'm sure everyone has differing of opinion, but
the more research you are aware of, the more you're able to withstand some of that manipulation.
Really?
So a lot of studies have showed that if you know that you're being manipulated a certain way, you can counter that.
Okay.
So if a holistic thinker, for instance, is aware, okay, this ad is in an occasion-setting background, and I'm aware that because of my holistic thinking nature, this may induce more craving. Just that awareness can kind of turn the effect off.
I gotcha. So in a sense, we're helping people out.
We're helping.
So I think we're about out of time, but can this research lead to any further research down the road?
Yeah, so one of the things that we didn't look into that would be interesting is how this would affect more of like Pavlovian manipulation. So many of us are aware of like Pavlov and his dogs and the little
Right.
bell, and the dogs would salivate with the bell. So it would be interesting to see, since holistic thinkers take the context more into account, if they would be more prone to Pavlovian manipulation. But we kind of doubt it, because this is so much is like a visual. What we were looking at in this research is very visual. And so it may or may not come into play. It may be that it's just kind of meaningless background noise.
Okay.
But it might. So I don't know.
So maybe a big fat we'll see. Well, great. Well, I think we're about out of time, but we'll see where that goes. And Shadûf is sponsored by UVU's Woodbury School of Business. We are active in various social media platforms, and we crave interaction. So if you have any insights, commentary, or suggestions for interesting research, let us know. We may even give you a shout out on the podcast. Thank you for listening.